Hey, what's up, everybody? So, today I wanted to explore Project Cars in VR, specifically racing in general in VR. I am addicted. I love this. Like, seriously, this is the reason to get into VR. If you have no other reason to get into VR, if you have seen it and you're not impressed, shooters don't do it for you. Puzzle games are kind of meh in VR. Escape rooms are not your thing. You can go do those in real life for cheaper, and it's actually more immersive because obviously you're in an actual room you have to escape from. So if those aren't your thing, check out racing in VR. Like, no joke. This is a selling point for any VR system. I have the HTC Vive. I have the Model 1 HTC Vive specifically. This was 2018, I want to say. No, 2016? Oh, shoot, when was that? Let's move back to that. It must have been 2016, so I bought it, 4 years ago. And so it's the Model 1. It's the one with the less impressive screen on it. I do want to get the Index, the headset and the controllers, because those controllers are pretty nifty, neato, coolio, adding a lot more functionality than the Vive ones do. I'm not a particular fan of the Vive ones, but I've also tried the Rift controllers, and I'm not a fan of those either. Actually, I'm less a fan of those. The touchpads make more sense when you can't see your controller than the joysticks do. The joysticks, it's hard to get a directional orientation when the controller itself can move in any direction, so you can't really organize that very easily. If they were to put like the N64 had the 8 corners for the joystick, so you could feel like, oh, now I'm pointing up, now I'm pointing north, now I'm pointing northwest, now I'm pointing west, now I'm pointing southwest. If it had something like that, that'd be cool. But from my memory, it doesn't. So that wasn't really my thing. Room scale VR in general is very fun and it's very immersive, but it's very limited in what you can do. Where VR really shines is in vehicles, especially if you have controllers to match what you're playing. The two most immersive experiences I've had in VR to date have been racing and flight simulators. I was never one to really get into flight simulators or racing games to begin with, because frankly they were kind of not my thing. I preferred fantasy stuff that I couldn't do in real life, and I was just kind of like, okay, cool. But when I tried to play it, it always felt weird. I couldn't really immerse myself in it. Distances are hard to measure when you're playing on a flat screen. 2 dimensions doesn't work. When you put that headset on, you are in whatever space you have put yourself in. When you load up a spacecraft voyaging through the Milky Way galaxy, or you load up a racing sim and you want to drive a Ferrari around one of the world's most impressive racetracks, for example, the Mojave, you can do that and you're there. It's not, I mean, yes, it's obviously a simulation, but you're fucking there. You're not looking at a screen in your living room. You're not at an arcade with a bunch of noise going on. No, your headset's on. Your eyes and ears are there. You are driving that track. You can look around. You're in your car. You can look around. You can see your opponents to your left and right. You can, scooch up and look behind you, and you can see the guy behind you and see what's going on. And you can look and see the crowd in the stands, as blurry and shitty as they are and poorly detailed. It's amazing. I have never been one much for any kind of realistic racing games. I always prefer Mario Kart or Crazy Taxi, Burnout, stuff like that. More arcadey style racing games. I've always preferred those, just because I don't want to think about driving when I'm playing a game. I just want to be able to hit the accelerator and go, blue shell, crash into that guy, run him into the rails, it might kill him. Stuff like that. I prefer a more arcadey experience when I'm playing on a television or a monitor. And this is not the first time I fired up Project Cars. Like, I've played this game multiple times. I used a much less impressive racing wheel before. I had a Logitech Momo racing wheel that my dad gave me. It's not a bad wheel. It's just the turn radius is limited to about 280 degrees, which is just, quarter. It's like 3/4 turn one way, 3/4 turn the other way. It's not a full 360, or even better, what I got now, 900-degree radius wheel that actually feels like a proper steering wheel. It didn't exactly do the trick, but even then, even with that limitation, I was still having a blast. And I was still enjoying the heck out of racing on that. And in the campaign for Project Cars, the first thing you're racing are these go-karts. Basically, there's you got the 125cc go-kart, and then you move on to the 250cc championship, and the 250cc is significantly faster. Like, I was so impressed. I didn't realize that a 250cc engine in a go-kart could get you up to 150 miles an hour. That's terrifying and awesome. And it's not like F1 racing. It's not like drag racing where you're nailing 230 to 300 miles an hour. I don't know how realistic that is. I clearly don't watch racing. But it's still impressive, and that turn radius actually makes sense for those. I noticed while I was playing with this wheel that in the game, the character was only turning it that 280 degree radius. It was only to get it 3/4 one way, 3/4 the other. So it wasn't bad. And in fact, I was still impressed and amazed by just how good it felt to race in VR. And I thought, okay. So the first thing I did when I fired up Project Cars was I immediately went to controls, and I made sure it was set to automatic transmission, because at the time I had zero interest in playing with a clutch. I didn't want to mess with the manual transmission. I didn't want to have to shift gears myself. I didn't want to have to pay attention to that and the race at the same time, because I'm fat and lazy. But since I first fired up Project Cars, I have learned how to ride a motorcycle. Obviously, a motorcycle doesn't have an automatic transmission. There's no model that I'm aware of that has an automatic transmission for a motorcycle. So I had to learn very quickly how to use a clutch. Now, I had some previous experience with an ex who taught me how to drive a manual using her truck, and I struggled. But we were also out on a farm driving in dirt, and I think that had a lot to do with it. Since we weren't on actually any streets, the feel of driving is very different when you don't have that nice solid ground underneath you, especially if you're using hardball tires, which most tires are. They're hard. They're the hard rubber instead of the soft rubber. Soft rubber's for racing because you get better traction, but we use hard tires for our everyday commute because we don't want them to wear down as fast. Makes sense. So that trying to use that with the dirt, not having that traction, I really struggled, but I did get it eventually. I didn't get it very well. I certainly wasn't an expert, but it was an introduction. I was like, okay, now I know how to drive this in the event that I have to drive a manual transmission vehicle. I think I would be able to pull it off. Not easily, but I would be able to pull it off. And since I have gotten my my M-Class license, I absolutely can pull it off. Since I now have that experience riding a motorcycle and dealing with a manual transmission, having to use the clutch and shift gears, when I was looking for a racing wheel, this time I made sure to get one that has a clutch pedal, because I figure this is not the best option if you haven't had experience with an actual manual transmission vehicle, but I figure this would give me some experience and some practice driving a manual transmission, driving with a stick shift, at least with dealing with the clutch. With the actual gear shift itself, since it's a paddle shifter on the wheel itself, that's going to be a little weirder. I could order a stick shift attachment. I really don't want to. It just doesn't entice me at all right now. Now, that being said, I didn't want the clutch either 2 years ago. I didn't want the clutch pedal either 2 years ago. So that may change. Luckily, it's an optional device to get with the wheel at a later date if you want, if you so choose. So I don't have to make that decision right now. But this time when I fired up Project Cars, after calibrating and spending 2 hours trying to figure out how to get the damn wheel to work with the game, only to realize that Steam has a setting that overrides the official drivers with a generic one and doesn't work well, and god fucking damn it, Valve. I eventually figured it out. It's here, by the way. So when I fired it up this time, after calibrating and getting it all up and running, the first thing I wanted to try was to see how good I was with shifting on a manual transmission. And so went to settings, switched it to manual. Automatic clutch, no. Since I had the clutch pedal, what's the point of having automatic clutch? It doesn't make any damn sense. And went into a practice run to see just how easy or hard it actually was in game, and just how realistic it felt compared to what I had experienced previously. It's pretty realistic, except the engine didn't stall nearly as much as it probably should have. Now, I don't know if some cars have a anti-stall measure if you let go of the clutch while you're in gear and not moving. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't think it is. So it didn't feel very realistic to me. But if it is, someone let me know. Someone correct me. My experience has been new. If you let go of that clutch and you ain't moving in any gear, you are shutting down. Period. You got to restart that engine, which is not a big deal. I mean, there is a ignition and engine on button you can set, which is very simple. And I got so many buttons on this controller, it was no issue at all. I had buttons to spare. I actually ended up turning off a couple of the HUD changing buttons so that I could set up the windshield and headlights, because it actually does start raining in game. It's pretty freaking awesome. I was impressed. I was like, wow, they thought about that. That is something that they put in consideration. It's a random elements part of the game. That's really, really cool. So I fired it up, went on to one of the test tracks, and just said, all right, go. I think I was driving a Ford Focus. I haven't yet tried to race using the manual transmission yet, because I don't actually have a good handle on it. Now, I'm going to keep practicing, and once I have a handle on it, I'm going to do it across a plethora of different vehicles. But the main thing I'm going to focus on is going to be the go-kart starting, because it's actually really fun. Once I have it down, once I can go around the track without slamming into a wall at 60 miles an hour, which would actually kill me in real life. Luckily, this is a video game. I don't have that problem. Once I do that, once I have the appropriate skills to actually race, I will do so. Until then, I'm going to stick to arcade automatic transmission mode with no shifting or anything of my own. Yeah, so it's not bad. But I guess what my point is, VR can be as realistic as you want it to be. You have options. You don't have to play it one person's way or another. You can do it to your own. Dance to the beat of a different drummer, as they say. You can do it all your own. You can set it up. You can customize it. It's very, very... Most racing games are so customizable these days that no two people are going to have the same experience. Like, it's going to be different for everyone. Like I said, if I'm in a more casual arcadey mood, I will set it to an automatic transmission with no gas or tire damage, no gas needed, no gas used, no tire damage, and just go, get going. Obviously, most realistic races are way more than just 2 or 4 laps. You can set it to be the full 200 lap. Or 300, or you can set it to hours. You can be like, you're making an endurance thing. You can set it to 12 hours for one race. Well, I think another setting was 1 day. So if you want to race for a whole day, you can do that and see just how long you go. I wouldn't recommend it, because it is still VR and you have a chance of getting, motion sick. And there's a lot of customization. Both this game and Dirt Rally, when I fired that up and played that also, by the way, is a lot of fun in VR. If you've never played rally racing, VR is definitely the way to do it. Again, because of that immersion. You are the person in the vehicle. You can look around on the inside of the vehicle. You got your partner next to you who's reading off the map instructions. You are the driver. This is not just you looking at a screen. You are driving the fucking car. It's so cool. It's just getting used to the speed, the traction, the corners. So you got to learn how to corner. You got to learn all these other different things. I've been playing Mario Kart since I was like 6. So I've got that at least. I just can't find that damn jump button on the controller for Project Cars. It doesn't work. That's because that's not how it works. However, the handbrake button, I have learned, does basically that. It's the Drift King button. It'll let you drift around those corners, and you don't get that cool little speed boost at the end. That's still strictly a Mario Kart thing, but there is something that does something similar. Apparently there's a KERS, kinetic energy recovery system, where when you're braking, your axle keeps spinning. If you hold that button, it actually stores that kinetic energy to be used to re-accelerate. Basically, it allows you to brake without losing the axle speed. My understanding is that when you go to hit the accelerator again, you don't have to wait for that to spin up again. It's already spinning. It's still going. Now, I haven't quite figured out how to use that very well because I'm just some noob who doesn't race for a living. I just play the arcadey stuff. But it's still fun. It's so much fun. I cannot recommend it enough. If you have not tried racing in VR or any vehicle simulation in VR, whether it's Project Cars, Dirt Rally, or American Truck Simulator, Euro Truck Sim 2. Both of those offer VR functionality for both the Oculus Rift and the Vive. You just got to opt in for the beta build under your Steam options for the game. Elite Dangerous, with a set of hands-on throttle and stick controllers, with a throttle and a stick and all the buttons your heart desires. You play Elite Dangerous. You are actually flying the goddamn ship. It is so fucking cool. You're actually in space. You're just, it's the Elite Dangerous was another one of those ones that was never on my radar because it's like, it's just a trucking simulator in space. I don't want, whatever. I mean, yeah, you get to fly. It's kind of, if you really like this sim aspect of it, now throw it in VR. It's so cool. It's so cool. I'm gushing. The point is, these games, these simulation games, these hyper-realistic simulation games never appealed to me before, but when they were ported to virtual reality, I see the appeal. Absolutely. When I can actually put myself in the driver's seat, when I can actually put myself in the pilot's seat and drive or fly these planes, spaceships, these cars, these go-karts, these insanely fast vehicles that I never in my waking life would ever be able to do otherwise. I can't afford it yet. We're working on that. It is incredible. And I highly, highly recommend anybody on the fence about VR, try it out in a racing or vehicular simulation environment. It is absolutely worth your time and your money. I'm not being paid to say this by anybody. I wish I was. I wish somebody would come to me and be like, hey, we liked your review and your review on the Project Cars in VR thing. We want to pay you more money to say nice things about our games and our headsets. I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. No, nobody's paying me to say this. I just really, really love it. I think it's just that good of a product. I've ranted long enough. It's really cool. Go try it. Here's some more video of me kicking ass in a race the second time because I hadn't practiced the track before. Until next time, peace out, y'all. Woo! Back on the track. Let's go. Nailed it. That's what I'm saying. You do the practice round first so you don't have to just continually restart your races. Because that's lame. Yeah, without having to do all the shifting and the everything else work. I'm just slamming on the accelerator and the brake at this point. Bitches.
You're leading by 3 seconds over second place. That's great. Keep pushing. Keep the gap.
Let's go. Let's go. Didn't cut. Guy drives like a douchebag. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Appreciate you noticing. Didn't cut. I'll take it. Widely overshot. This is why I stay so far ahead. If I can fuck up shit like that and still win. I didn't see him yet. I don't even see him in the mirror. It didn't cut. Ooh, but that might have. Nope, didn't count. Look at all the blocky people. Look at them all. That's a terrible crowd.
Fantastic. Great win. You nailed it today. Brilliant driving.
That's better. Yeah, see? Not so bad.